Morning. It's the 18th day of January. It's the year 2024. And none of the post-apocalypse movies of the 80s have been proven true. We're still here. So people have been asking me to do reviews, which is something I'm never really good at, but sure. I will start doing reviews. Now, obviously, I'm going to review first stuff that's in my collection before I reach out to try and get stuff that I have to actually pay for, because I'm cheap. And I also don't like buying games if I'm never going to use them. My good friend Grim Jim just recently did his breakdown of top 10 systems and top 10 settings. So I thought I'd start there with my breakdown of what I think are my top 10 role-playing game systems as we start reviewing stuff in my collection, which means most of the things on my list are going to be systems in my collection. So what are my top 10 role-playing game systems, mechanics, rules? Doesn't have anything to do with the setting or anything else. Just personally, for me, what do I think does the job the best? And obviously, you should know by now what my number one is. I only sing its praises like once a month, if not more. And I know it's a very small group of people, but for me, personally, the best system, number one on my list, Paizo Marvel. And you've heard me talk about my experience with Paizo Marvel before and why I think it's the best system for me. Again, this is just my list. And so I don't know if I need to go through this again. If you've never heard my love letter to Paizo Marvel, you can go through my collection of videos because I bring it up all the time. So yes, Paizo Marvel is my number one personal system. You know, you would think D&D, right? But actually, I don't like D&D. I mean, I love playing D&D. I love running D&D, but I don't like the system because it's kind of clunky. And there are definitely systems that do D&D better than whatever the name of the system is that D&D is or was, the OGL, the D20 Fantasy. So yeah, it's not my number one. Marvel Paizo is my number one for just perfect system for me. Number two, basic role-playing / Call of Cthulhu by Chaosium. That is my number two system for me. Again, this is just my list. So why? And again, it's for the same reasons. There's just stuff about that system that's perfect for me. Like if I was on a desert island and there was only one game I could take with me to run everything with, well, as much as I love Marvel, I know it's limited to me. But if I bring Call of Cthulhu, basic fantasy, basic role-playing to the game, to the island, I know that other people are going to appreciate the system as much as I do. So yeah, that's my desert island system. That's number two. Number three, Dungeons and Dragons. Okay, we got to go. It is definitely in the top 5. None of us would be here without D&D. So yeah, number 3 is my D&D. Which is my favorite version of D&D? I've liked every version, even 4th. I absolutely love 4th. I think 4th deserved a better run than what it got. I understood 4th, which is weird, but I did. So yeah, but my favorite take on D&D, I mean, I love 5th too, but it's got to be AD&D /3.5. That happy middle between the end of the AD&D era and the beginning of the 3.0 system is probably when D&D for me was its best, both system-wise, both just play-wise, both just this is what D&D is supposed to be like-wise, and that was probably D&D. Yeah. Number 4. What is my number 4 top role-playing game system of all time? It's D6 West End Games Star Wars. D6 West End Games Star Wars. That isn't a great system that doesn't get enough love. It does the job well. I think it's the best Star Wars system. It is also the official, unofficial Star Wars expanded universe system. There's a lot of stuff in the expanded universe of Star Wars, which unfortunately is no longer canon, according to Disney, that came from that game. And there's a lot of stuff in Phase D6 West End Games Star Wars that came from the expanded universe. They were able to interlock with each other in such a way that they created this universe together. Stuff in the game made its way to the fiction. Stuff in the fiction made its way to the West End Games Star Wars universe. So yeah, just amazing system and just amazing what they were able to do. All right, so I forget where I am. So we did Marvel, we did Call of Cthulhu, we did D&D, we did Star Wars. Number five, speaking of interlock, the interlock system from Artisolian. I love that system. I played around with it a lot. I helped with the creation of the fusion system. I loved everything about it. Yeah. I don't think Interlock got enough love, but I mean, Cyberpunk 2020, great game, great system. Mechton, great game, great system. Fusion could have been great, but I think we tried to do too much. Silhouette, also really great system. So everything that came out of that Interlock, so that's my number five. Number six. My number six tabletop role-playing game system is of all time. It's a hard one. I probably should have written this down because I don't like a lot of systems. I'm looking at my shelf and it's like, well, yeah, I have a lot of games that are the same system, but yeah, Year Zero. Year Zero's got to be my number six. I really love the simplicity of their dice system. The adaptability that they're able to tell all these different stories using the Year Zero system. So that's why probably number six. Number seven, gotta be GURPS, right? I mean, it's gotta be on my list. GURPS took up such a huge chunk of my life. I mean, GURPS was the end all be all of gaming for me. I've discussed my GURPS phenomenon where I was. Now, I assume that my role-playing game experiences are unique to me. So when people say blah, 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 that never happened to me, I'm like, well, yeah, because mine's unique to me. Mine's unique to where I was and when I was there. So did the rest of the gaming world experience what I experienced when the GURPS phenomenon began? Probably not, but I do know a large chunk of gaming here in Southern California came to a halt when GURPS came out, and everybody switched to GURPS. When I was in college, every game that was being played, and there was a lot of games being played up there because there's nothing else to do at Humboldt State University but role play or take drugs and have sex, right? Or watch a really crappy football team. So there was a lot of role-playing games going on. Every game came to a halt, switched to GURPS. And GURPS, I mean, 3 stats, build whatever you want, simple math in the beginning. Yeah, it was a great system. It was such a great system that every game converted. And there was like a 3-year period when we were not playing anything but GURPS or takes on GURPS. And everybody was trying to make their own take on GURPS. So yeah, GURPS has got to be on the list. What was that, number 7? I don't know. I should have written this down. But I'm just kind of spitballing here. All right. So number 8, tabletop role-playing game system of all time, the Villains and Vigilantes system. There's another system that just sort of only exists in one place, and that's 2nd edition V&V. It's nothing like 1st edition V&V, and it's nothing like Jeff did afterwards with Villains and Vigilantes. But that 2nd edition of Villains and Vigilantes is as close to perfect as a superhero system can get. There's only one system that's as close, and that's my number 10. Now, yes, Villains and Vigilantes, the system did favor high agility characters. It was definitely geared towards high agility because the way the damage system worked and the way initiative system worked. So if you weren't familiar with the initiative system, it's you rolled a number and then you went on this chart and you subtracted your agility down that chart by that number. And, if you had a high agility, it meant you could go more times Because if you looked on the chart, like a guy with a 25 agility would go way more times on the chart than a guy with a 6 agility would get to go. And so, yeah, it definitely favored high agility characters. But this has been said time and time again, especially about Villains and Vigilantes 2nd edition. You could run any character in Villains and Vigilantes and they would work. You could have Superman and Batman side by side and they could work together without one feeling more overpowered than the other. The system was so well written that nobody overpowered anybody else and nobody made anybody else shine over anything. So yeah, V&V. What was that, number 8? Number 9, my number 9 tabletop role-playing game system of all time, which I think is just a great system that probably doesn't get enough love. Now I would say Castles and Crusades, but Castles and Crusades is basically D&D, right? There's not that many differences between it. And Atomic Highway. Atomic Highway is another D6 system that maybe 5 people have heard of and is genius. I've run an Atomic Highway campaign. I've run a space game using Atomic Highway. I ran a fantasy game using Atomic Highway. It is a great D6 system. I wish the guy who created Atomic Highway had done more things with Atomic Highway. But yeah, it's a great D6 system. If you've never checked it out, you can find it out there. Post-apocalypse, of course, very Mad Max post-apocalypse. That's the name Atomic Highway. Teeny little system. Maybe 10 people in the world have it. But yeah, it's a great system. And finally, of course, number 10. Number is, got to be, I don't know why superhero systems I love more than any other system. I mean, most of the superhero systems really aren't that well written. But I just love superheroes. I mean, if I had a choice between only playing fantasy for the rest of my life or only playing superhero role-playing games for the rest of my life, without a doubt, I'd take superheroes. If somebody said to me, well, we're going to play Marvel, but we're only going to play Marvel, and that's the only game we're ever going to play, and I'd be like, I'm fine. I'm fine with that. So number 10, Heroes Unlimited. I give Heroes Unlimited a lot of shit. You know that. I give the Palladium system a lot of shit, but I also love it. Secretly, Heroes Unlimited could be the best superhero system. It just is one more edit/play test away from being so goddamn good. And now the system itself is a clunky D20 system that has way too many mechanics, but the amount of work Palladium put into Heroes Unlimited is unprecedented. I mean, they really break everything down into how it could work in this imaginary world. The physics of each individual cyborg part, each individual robot part, the physics and thinking behind spaceships and powered armor characters. It's just, I don't know of any other system that did that. And then when you get to the powers section, and people give me crap because they think I hate Heroes Unlimited. It's like, no, I fucking love Heroes Unlimited. It's just a mess. It's a beautiful disaster, but just look at the work they did in the powers. I will say time and time again, if I'm running a superhero game, doesn't matter what system, when it comes to how the powers work, I will go to Heroes Unlimited and crib it to take it over to whatever system I'm running, because just the amount of time and effort they went into figuring out and doing the math for each individual power. And the more ridiculous powers, you're just like, well, how do you figure that out? I mean, how do you make a real world crossover to ridiculous superpower and then cross that back into a system? They did. And it all comes from like questions people have had. You play superheroes or any game with superpowers, and inevitably everyday life questions come up, right? Whether it be spells, psychics, superpowers, whatever. Sooner or later, the everyday questions come up. Can I do this everyday task with my powers? I've got flame powers. Can I cook food with my flame powers? I've got ice powers. Okay, I mean, I can freeze people and make ice bridges, but what about simple things like making ice cubes? Is that something I can do with my ice powers? Because those questions come up. Palladium answered them. Palladium, I mean, you look at the breakdown of flame powers in Palladium, and it's like a page and a half. And a huge chunk of that is listing what you can do with each temperature of your flame power and how long it would take you to do it. So the question is, can I cook food with my flame powers? They answered. And as far as I know, they're the only one that's ever done that. So that's my number 10. So you guys asked me to review systems. I will do reviews because that's what you've asked me for. But in order to do reviews, we got to do my top 10 systems and my top 10 settings, right? And then we can start doing reviews. So those are my top 10 tabletop role-playing game of all time. My top 5. Number 1, Marvel Phase Rip. Number 2, basic role-playing / Call of Cthulhu. Number 3, Dungeons and Dragons, specifically the Castles and Crusades, Dungeons and Dragons. So that AD&D 3, that sweet spot. That was when D&D was the most D&D, right? And number 4, D6 Star Wars. So yeah, we know, it's pretty simple. We pretty know what I like. Those are simples, not settings. So yeah. Thanks, Grim Jim, for this idea. If you guys want to do your own top 10 list, let me know. Send me a link. And we will do top 10 settings. And then we'll start doing reviews because that's what you've all asked me to do. So that's what I'll do. But I'm really tired and not feeling well. So I'm not going to do it right now. But I will do it. Till next time, I'm the OGGM. If you appreciate this stuff, let me know. If you never want to hear me do this ever again, let me know. What is your number 1 role-playing game system of all time? And what is your desert island system? If you had to have only one role-playing game that you could play forever on a desert island, what would it be? Let me know. Talk to you later.